welcome back to Asylum 319. Today I'll be talking about Pragmata, or as many have affectionately called it, Dad Simulator. Pragmata was first announced on June 11th, 2020 during a PlayStation 5 reveal stream, becoming Capcom's first original franchise in almost 8 years. It went through a few years of delays and development hell, then at last year's Game Awards it got a firm release date of April 24th, 2026. Around that time, a demo titled Pragmata Sketchbook was released on Steam, and it was also confirmed to be headed to the Switch 2, with an amiibo figure for Diana to soon follow. The demo would eventually hit consoles on February 5th of this year. Then, 1 month later, during a spotlight presentation, Capcom announced the release would be moved up a week to April 17th, though the Switch 2 version in Japan would still come out on the original date of April 24th. The game would go on to garner strong reviews from critics and players alike, and it currently holds strong scores across all of its versions on Metacritic. Now, out of respect, I will be issuing a spoiler warning, as I will be giving my CliffNotes version of the story, and will also be discussing parts of the story once I give my honest thoughts on the game. So if you want to fast forward, this would be the point where you would do that. Otherwise, I thank everybody for visiting the channel, for hitting play. I also want to thank those who like the video, for those who subscribe. And even if this video isn't your cup of tea, I also want to say thank you to those who give this video and this channel a chance. And without further ado, here's my Cliff Notes version of the story. So in Pragmata, you play as Hugh Williams, who's sent along with his team to investigate a moon base called the Cradle. This moon base is owned by the Delphi Corporation, and it's entirely 3D printed thanks in large part to Delphi's invention, the limb replicator. The cradle was established in order to maintain a consistent flow of lunar filament, the special material limb replicators require to function. Early in their investigation, Hugh was separated from the rest of his team. He's eventually revived and healed by an android girl called Pragmata DI-03367. Hugh affectionately dubs her Diana, and they set out to investigate what happened in the cradle. Edis, the cradle's AI administrator, turns hostile and starts sending the base's robots to try and stop Hugh and Diana. And Diana assists Hugh in battle by hacking the robots they fight, opening them up to Hugh's weapons. Eventually, they reach the comm tower, and Hugh is able to send a distress signal to Earth. Though Edis has locked down most of the communications, a girl named 8 manages to contact them using the holographic projection of a cat. They then make their way to the Terradome, where they meet 8, who, like Diana, is also a Pragmata. 8 explains to them that Edis had gone rogue after a recent moonquake. 8 then tells them they can stop Edis if Diana can issue the stop code at its mainframe. Before Edis shuts down the area, 8 passes the code along to Diana, and they then proceed on their journey. And on their way to the mainframe, they encounter more and more of a substance called dead filament, which is a byproduct of the lunar filament they use in their 3D printing, and it's highly toxic to organic life. While they do succeed in issuing the stop code, they discover that Edis was actually trying to contain 8 and was essentially mistaking Diana for 8, and the code that was passed on wasn't a stop code, but was more of a reset that allowed 8 to fully take control of Edis. 8 then proceeds to attack the duo, severely damaging Diana and striking Hugh with a piece of the dead filament. They then race to the Pragmatic sector where Diana is successfully restored. Then they race to the central port to try and stop 8 from sending the dead filament to Earth. Ultimately, they do succeed in defeating 8, with 8 asking them to tell the truth of what happened to Dr. Higgins before fading away. Following a final chase from a sentient pile of dead filament, Hugh and Diana find a cargo transport where Hugh then reveals that he's infected with the dead filament. He then gives Diana a heartfelt goodbye before using his suit's battery pack to help launch the cargo transport to Earth. And if you're fast forwarding to avoid spoilers, this would be a safe spot to fast forward to. While I'll still be discussing parts of the story from here on out, it won't be the total story reveal that I just did. So if you're fast forwarding to avoid potential spoilers, this would be a good spot to stop at. And now I'll get into my honest thoughts on the game. That entire ending sequence, let me tell you, that final battle with 8, that final chase sequence to get to the cargo transport, that moment where Hugh reveals he's infected with the dead filament, sheesh, man, what a roller coaster of emotion. I almost never admit to crying during certain scenes, but that whole ending sequence with Hugh and Diana, yeah, that was right in the feels, man. Right in the feels. And roller coaster is partly how I would describe my time with Pragmata. It's a short roller coaster, but one loaded with a lot of fun set pieces. And it was pretty enjoyable to watch the dynamic between Hugh and Diana unfold. In the early moments of the game, you can see Hugh's apprehensions when it comes to having kids. You can see that bit of apprehension within their first few exchanges. But over time, you can see him begin to soften as he starts to educate Diana more about humans, and then start sharing his own experiences from when he was Diana's age. And you can see him start to embrace more of that fatherly role. And it's also pretty cool when you find the REMs that are scattered around the cradle, and then watching Diana interact with them each time you return to your shelter. I think there's 20 in all. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me in the comments. But you find things like a swing, a toy water gun, a remote control car, a sandcastle, a basketball hoop, a slide. All sorts of cool things that you would normally expect a kid to interact with. And it's pretty fun watching Diana interact with them, and you can start to see her understanding of humans start to deepen. And also enjoyed the talks that you have with Diana, and I feel they do a good job of highlighting that while she's still an android, you can see her start to develop more of an understanding of humans. And then during the game, during the interactions you have as you're playing, talk about everything from wanting to go to the beach, wanting to see birds, and so on and so forth. And then the moments where she shares her drawings with you really add a nice touch to the father daughter bond that they form. When I first saw Pragmata, I was intrigued by how the hacking mechanic would be integrated into the combat. I liked how it added a bit of tension to each encounter. I lost count of how many times I had to dodge an attack mid hack, then try to reposition to finish it off before it reset. Admittedly, I was unsure at first of how it would feel, but Capcom did a really good job of making it feel intuitive, making it feel as much a part of the combat, as the shooting. And I imagine, this is a mechanic other games will try to emulate in some fashion. A large part of Pragmata's story revolves around the use of 3D printing. And I like how that was integrated into the combat, and I liked how that encouraged you to try different weapons once your initial loadout starts to run out. I often found myself cycling through 2 to 3 weapons as a level progressed. And each weapon had its uses, and each weapon added to the flexibility you have in combat. I really feel like Capcom did their thing with that, and I'm curious to see how they build upon that in future installments. Then, getting back to the story itself a bit, technically there's only 4 characters you interact with directly throughout the game. There's Hugh, the character you play as, Diana, 8, and Edis. And this is where I like how they integrated the holo vids and the journal entries that you come across, as they really help to sell the idea that you're on this abandoned station, and as you start to learn more about what really happened, it really adds to the growing tension. And once you find out 8's true motivations, a lot of those journal entries and holovids start to take on a deeper meaning. I enjoyed tracking down the journal entries, emails, and unlocking the secret correspondence files almost as much as I enjoyed the combat. Few games can achieve that, and Capcom pulled it off pretty nicely. I would be totally down to read a novelization from the view of Dr. Higgins. When you first learn about Dr. Higgins, you start to feel a bit of anger towards him for how he treated Diana. Then when you find out Diana and 8 were based on his daughter Daisy, and then when you find out the truth of what happened to Daisy, you can't help but start to feel for him. It also helps to make more sense of 8's motivations and why she's so obsessed with sending the dead filament to Earth. And this is where I also have to give a shout out to Shoji Kawamori. Now, if that name sounds familiar, he created the Macross animated franchise and the Diaclone toy line, which would respectively serve as the inspiration behind Robotech and Transformers. He's also known for writing and co-creating the vision of Escaflowne. It's safe to say he knows a thing or two about crafting mecha-inspired universes. He served as the science fiction world-building supervisor for Pragmata, and throughout my time with the game, I kept thinking how the tech in this game felt a little bit outside of our current scope, but it felt believable. Like, it felt like something that we weren't too far off from getting to. And as I've noted, I enjoyed tracking down the journal entries and holovids and how they added to the game's atmosphere. That's in large part to Kawamori, and Capcom made sure to publicly acknowledge and thank him for his contributions. Really, my complaints list is pretty short. Like, really, my only complaint with Pragmata is that it was too short. Like, I completed the main story in about 14 hours, then took another 7 to 8 to complete Unknown Signal. Ultimately, though, this was a minor complaint. You know, Pragmata is a perfect example of quality over quantity. It might be a short ride, but they managed to pack a lot into it. And most importantly, they managed to pack a lot into it without it feeling overstuffed or bogged down. And it's clear that Capcom has another potential franchise on its hands. I feel like it does have the potential to branch into novelizations, and with Kawamori's involvement, I think that also adds to the potential of an animated miniseries. There's a lot of fun lore to dive into, and I can't wait to see what Capcom does with it. I would love to see some more DLC, but if this is indeed what we get until the next one, then I can only hope that a follow up can continue what Capcom started. I really enjoyed my time with Hugh and Diana, and I definitely can't wait to see more of them. And that's all the time I have for today. As I said earlier, I want to thank everybody who took the time to play. I want to thank everybody who likes the video. I want to thank those who subscribe. And e- even if this video isn't your cup of tea, I want to thank you once again for at least giving it a chance. And ultimately, that's all I want with this YouTube channel, which is just a chance to try my hand at it. So I thank you all for visiting. I look forward to posting my Olivia Miles and AC Fudd video this Friday. I'm not sure what I'm going to do after that, but I'm going to do my best to try and have fun with it, just like I tried to have fun with this video. And I hope you all enjoy this video as much as I did trying to put it together. So thank you guys. Much love, and until next time, this is yours truly signing off.